West Tigers podcast, episode 460, believe it or not. What a pod we have today. Obviously, quite a few West Tigers talking points in the news, one specifically. But before we get into it, Joel, how are you, mate?
I'm very well, thank you, Nick. I'll dive straight in. I feel like a little bit of a millstone has been removed from the necks of the West Tigers.
It certainly is that way. And we are about to dive back straight back into it. But Josh, you well, mate?
I'm good, thanks, Nick. Yeah, feeling good. Just despite what historically would have been a horrific day for the Tigers, I actually feel quite good today. So yeah, excited.
I think I'm,
Chiefly.
yeah,
Chiefly.
Chiefly. Actually, I forgot to introduce myself as Chief Nick Hayes tonight. Those of you watching on YouTube, you might notice I've got a slightly different virtual
Mm.
background tonight. If you are just listening audio, I highly recommend you go onto our YouTube channel and have a quick look. There's a slight change in the logo. It might only be for this pod, but I'm in Chief Studio tonight. So yes, Joel.
Well, if we're really smart, what we should do is we should do the PNG Chiefs podcast instead of the West Tigers podcast, and Albo might give us a couple of $1 million. Tax
That's
free.
not a bad idea. I hear
Yeah.
Josh also likes tax-free money. Is that right, Josh?
Yeah, look, I have had an offer from the PNG Chiefs, but look, I'm loyal to the Tigers. I won't be taking the extra 500 grand a year. I'm here for my nothing every week. Loyal to the team. So
So you
yeah,
get
Team
nothing.
first.
yep,
You
Team
get
first.
nothing. That's twice as
yeah,
much as I get.
yeah.
Speaking of earning lots of money, I've got a mate of mine on tonight, Aaron. As it's great to see you. Thank you so much for joining. I know you're a tragic tiger. Um, do you want to just spend a quick minute to introduce yourself and obviously a little bit of background on how you became a Tigers tragic like ourselves?
Yeah, thanks, Chief Nick. Good to be on. Long time listener into the fry pan today with everything that's going on. But I'm pretty positive about how things have been. And yeah, a long time Tigers fan, born into it. Used to walk to Leichhardt Oval to watch the Balmain boys play when I was young with the old man. I still remember the 88, 89 grand finals, and 2005 grand final was probably the best night of my life. So I'm pretty positive with the way things are going, and I'm not really too concerned about the news that's sort of come out in the last couple of days.
I think that's probably along the lines of the way we're all kind of thinking, and we will get straight into it. So obviously, massive news, which kind of broke yesterday and was made official this morning with the press conference at Concord. But yeah, Romy's obviously off to the PNG Chiefs starting 2028, 2-year deal with an option for a third. 1.2 million a season, Josh. So, you're the tax-free specialist here, but that's obviously the reported money that he'll be getting. He's obviously going to be taking home a lot of money. He did say in his presser that it's not all about the money and there are other reasons, but what's your take?
Um, Look, maybe there are other reasons, and I think Jerome enjoyed being signing 001 as they were reporting it. Um, but to get that kind of money at any other club, he's getting having to get 2.3 million dollars a year before tax, and so look, who can blame him? I mean, I think we can all understand that he's a family man with 4 kids, but also it's just a ridiculous amount of money, and he gets an extra year to what he had at the Tigers. So that extra year he's probably 33. Maybe he doesn't get anywhere near that. So look, it's a huge amount of money. His cost of living's probably going to be lower. Yeah, look. Normally when a player leaves the club, you're upset, you're cranky, but I got to be honest, like I can't blame the guy, and it feels like for the first time in a long time, I actually don't even blame the club. I think we did nothing wrong. I think actually we seem to have managed this reasonably well. The club was aware, it was communicated well, it wasn't leaked around for weeks. Um, Strangely enough, I feel proud to be a Tiger after this happening today, and I think everyone came out of this better. Be it the Tigers, be it Jerome, be it the Chiefs. I think everyone came out of it well, which is it's a strange situation, a strange feeling, much like all the wins this year have been. So yeah.
It is very strange, Joel. It's kind of, I guess we've had this in the back of our mind since Jerome signed, right? With all of once we
Mm.
heard that there were, what's the word I'm thinking of? There were clauses in his contract, so he had a get out clause at the end of every season. I guess we all had that in the back of our mind that is he going to leave next year? What if he gets a better offer? Maybe it did take something like the Chiefs to come in because, like Josh was just saying, to be 0-0-1, I think that's really right up Romy's alley to be that initially picked player for the Chiefs. He's most likely going to be captain. Like it's a pretty big feather
Yeah.
in his hat, isn't it? Speaking of feathers, just before I move off the topic, I did buy these from a party shop in the city today. I was going to wear them as an Indian chief headdress, but it disappears in a virtual background. So if you're on YouTube, can't wear the feathers. But yeah, Joel.
I will be keenly anticipating you wearing that at the next West Tigers game that you attend.
I have thought about that.
Yes, I
It
think
might
that's a
happen.
must. Now, the other question is, are you now going to ask for your Tiger medallion that you bought on Temu back from Jarome? Does he have to bring it back to you?
No, I might do something with that. It is here on my desk.
Oh, okay. He didn't keep it.
No,
No, I thought you bought him one and he kept it. No.
No, he actually got one from another fan, so I went and found the same one from Temu. So yeah, it cost me about $12. But we're getting a bit off topic. So
We are.
A
I
bit.
don't remember the initial question, Joel, but player number one,
The
Chiefs.
point I'd like to make is you were sort of going along the lines of we didn't see this coming because, let's be realistic, no other existing NRL team was going to be able to pay him a cent more than what West Tigers are paying him. So he was pretty safe so long as there wasn't something like this coming out of the blue. But I don't think this is necessarily a West Tigers issue. I think what you're going to find in coming weeks is this is an NRL issue. I think a lot of clubs are going to feel the same sort of I don't know if it's pain, but the same sort of disappointment or finding themselves in a similar situation. Panthers, Brian To'o, and a couple of others have already been mentioned. What we can only hope is that the bloodletting stops there and we don't lose more players to the Chiefs. If your captain, if the guy that's committed to the club and has said all the right things is swayed by the money, there's probably a lot of other guys out there that would be thinking to themselves, well, how do I turn my 350,000 a year into 700,000 a year? Let's give the Chiefs a call. So I think it's going to be broader than just the West Tigers. They filled one, possibly two spots with Alex Johnston coming from South. That'll hurt the South fan base as well to see one of their favourite sons playing against them. But yeah, I think this is going to be the start of a lot of guys signing with the PNG, not just Luai. And as I said at the top, I think as much as it, and as Josh said, as much as it is, we are programmed to be disappointed. I think we have to look at the very many positives that come out of this. There's a lot of guys that I'd rather have than Jarome Luai, especially on the money that we were paying him.
That's very true. As just along the lines of what Joel was saying, like I remember when Melbourne came into the competition, like that was a pretty bold move from the NRL when they wanted to expand to go to Melbourne, being a AFL state. They took a really big punt, but for me, Melbourne Storm had to be successful and repetitively or consecutively successful for that expansion to work. And I actually wonder whether that's the same with PNG. Obviously, PNG, I think it's going to be massively tribal. Like I can just imagine every home game they have there is going to be huge. The fans, I don't know how they're going to control them. I think the excitement
it's going to be chaos.
It will be chaos. I can see them not riding on the streets, but it's going to be, kind of Belmore-like on the streets, right? Like it's going to be people crawling out of every drain everywhere, and marching up and down the main streets. But
a bit like West Tigers fans.
A bit like West Tigers fans.
Like that.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that a bit later too. But do you think it's a little bit unfair as with the tax-free situation for PNG, or do you think this is just something the NRL was obviously very clear about when they knew well about, this potential for players that are going to go there to earn a lot of money?
Yeah, look, I think it is. I mean, there's definitely a case to be made that it maybe is a little bit unfair, but every side's going to be in the same boat in terms of potential to lose key players or players. Hopefully, as Joel said, the bloodletting sort of stops with Romy and we don't lose too many more. But, I think the other thing that hasn't really been spoken about a great deal is, the living situation over there. They're going to be living within a compound, so to speak. I mean, I'm sort of wondering how that's going to work because I imagine I don't know, do they pay rent? Is it free? Do they get these houses for free? I mean, it could be on 1.2 or 2.2 as Josh mentions, equivalent without paying, mortgages and all sorts of things. It's potentially a really positive thing if you want to go there purely for money. And I'm not suggesting that's necessarily what Jarome wants to do. I think he's been great for the Tigers in sort of building a culture and getting us back to where we are. And Benji touched on that today when he was talking about he sort of not begged, but he certainly pressured Jarome to come to the Tigers to turn the club around that was struggling. And I think he's been he's been a key member in doing that. So I think we've kind of got what we needed from him, and I think the money was a lot, but I think it has been kind of well spent with considering where we are on an upward trajectory at the moment. It's going to be tough competing with PNG, but yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of club. I mean, I was looking at some of the names coming off in the end of next year. There's some big names coming off there. So Panthers have 7 or 8 big names. There's a few at the Storm. We've got quite a few, which I guess we're going to talk about. So there's definitely going to be some clubs that are going to be hurting. I mean, I imagine Mal and the Perth Bears are probably saying, "What about us over there?" I mean, like I think they're really not set up to fail, but certainly everything is trending towards PNG trying to be as big a success as it can. And I guess it kind of needs to be with the amount of money that's been tipped in from the government and the NRL and all that sort of thing. But the club's got something from it as far as money goes. So I guess there's pros and cons with it, and we're just going to have to wear it. I mean, the one thing I will say, and touching back on the Tigers, is I think we're in a much stronger position to handle this sort of news and handle a player like this leaving than we were 2 or 3 years ago, where it just seemed like we couldn't take a trick.
100%. We can thank Richo for that, who's since departed the building. Josh, just a quick one. I was just thinking about this morning, and it's most likely coincidence, but the timing of Romy's PNG visit, right, was off the back of 3 consecutive home games. Romy doesn't have to face a home crowd for 5 weeks, which he's probably very happy about at the moment. Do you think that's... Obviously, I don't think that was planned to happen this way, but I think it's the way we're talking and the way we're talking before we started recording. I think most West Tigers fans are going to be okay. And go ahead.
I think most West Tigers fans are okay. What I've seen on social media and around places today, I think most people are fairly calm about it. One, they understand the money, but 2, I think they also, and I definitely feel Jarome already has done a lot for this club. Like, he's changed the culture, he's changed the standards. Not just him, but he's been a huge part of it. And so I think we all go, well, he came here to change our club for the better, and he has changed our club for the better. Look, I think, will that continue? Look, if he ends up taking 3 or 4 guys with him, which I actually don't think will happen, but if he ends up taking 3 or 4 guys with him, and if our season this season and maybe next season falls apart off the back of it, and it isn't finding things like that, then I think maybe the attitude from Tigers fans will change. But I don't really see that happening. So I think at the moment, look, I think there'll be a few comments. I think the next home game, probably they'll over the season, there'll be a few things, and a few people wearing their Chiefs hats. But I don't think that we're particularly upset. Like, if Jarome had come out today and gone, "I'm not taking up the option for 2027. I'm going to the Bulldogs for the next 3 years," we would have all been ropeable. It would have been done. Yeah. But I don't think anyone's gone, "Wow, why is he doing this? Can't understand it." Everyone looks, especially in a hard cost of living time, and goes, "Yeah, I could probably take an extra 500 grand a year too." So, hard to argue with, I think.
I think the most important thing that you might have missed there, Josh, is that we keep winning.
Yeah,
if this wipes our season out, he won't be very popular. I think that's the most important thing for the club. It's vital for the club to keep staying competitive. And look, we may not win as many games as we have been winning, but we can't let this just destroy our promising season. Otherwise, he will be lynched.
And I think it'll be interesting the next 3 weeks, and it's just timing. No Appy, no Buller, and this Luai stuff happens. Like, there is a possibility we lose a few games and everyone gets all angry at this Jarome stuff. But actually, with the players out, there's a reasonable chance that probably would have happened anyway, and it's nothing to do with it. That's the only probably risk from a timing perspective for him is we've been in great form, we've got a few injuries, and that happened to be the same week that this happened. So
The thing
Yeah,
that
that's sort of
feels
my only
me,
concern.
yeah, I agree too. The thing that actually doesn't concern me at all is when Romy signed with West Tigers, was it like a year and a half or longer before he left Penrith, that he did his own press conference, which was a bit odd at the time, but he was very adamant. He said, "This is the one and only time I'm going to talk about it. I've signed with West Tigers. I'll take your questions, but after this interview's done, it's all about the Panthers, and I'm, team first mentality. I'm all about Penrith until I walk out the door." And he did, and he went and won two competitions in a row, and then left.
Well, that was half the time that it was between what it will be this time, because he announced his signing with the Tigers in about March or April. It was very early that year, and he obviously landed in November. So this is twice as long. He's still here for quite a while yet. So, I think it could be a good thing. It'll probably free him up too. You won't have to worry too much about signing contracts and renewing contracts and things like that. We might actually see the best of him. He can just go out and play and enjoy it and make the most of it.
and if he does win a premiership here before he leaves, I think we'll all forgive him for everything else. So
100%.
that's all I'm asking.
Yeah,
Exactly right. So it's going to be a 3-year stay for Romy at West Tigers, right? If my maths is correct, which I think is about the same as what Scott Prince had.
exactly the same. Yeah. Nick is frozen.
It's frozen.
The
Well,
chief is frozen. He's been cut off. Oh, well, I'd better
go, Joel.
the hosting.
You've got the
I have done it
experience.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be 3 years. Scott Prince was 04, 05, and 06. A little bit sort of similar circumstances, Nick, with your friend Scott Prince, because there was that the wife was homesick, want to get back. Yeah, and I think the thing with Scott Prince was that he never really wanted to come to Sydney, so there was always that factor. So there are, a little bit of some comparisons and parallels you could draw with this one. I love the compound. Somebody wrote that on the West Tigers podcast forum. All the wives and girlfriends are going to be locked in this compound. They're not going to be able to go shopping or anything, and it's going to be like maths. So they should do a reality show in the bunker in the compound in PNG.
Wives of Port Moresby.
Moresby.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I'll subscribe to that. That sounds great. I don't mind what I have to pay. It'll all be tax free as well. Before we move, yeah.
Sorry, Hazy, I was just going to say one thing. I think one thing for me was probably Romy, I thought spoke very well today in his media, talking about the reasons and the fact that he had signed with Penrith earlier and that he is committed for 18 months and he's basically going to be putting everything in for the Tigers in the next 18 months. So as long as we don't see, his efforts and all that kind of thing drop off, there's no reason at all for us to, look, at the end of the day, it's professional sport. These guys, as much as we are entwined with the sides and we want it to be, at the end of the day, these guys, this is their job. So they are going to make some decisions that are going to be based around things other than maybe loyalty being first and foremost there.
Yeah, exactly right. I was going to go through a few of the quotes from the press conference, but I think we've pretty much covered everything. The first one, yes, Joel?
Probably just one thing to keep in mind too is that we should all probably take with a grain of salt what football players say. They stand in front of the microphones and they make these pretty big statements and that like that. And you should always take it with a grain of salt. Even if you look at it from a game to game perspective, they have the press conference every week and it's like, well, this week we want to come out and we want to defend better. It's a load of baloney. Like it's just gives sound bites to the news. So don't invest too much in what players say. Ultimately, as this is shown, when push comes to shove, will look after their family first, and that's okay. It's one of the rare occasions where that happens. Sometimes that works in our favour, though. It worked in our favour getting him from Penrith. Penrith wanted to pay him 700, and we came along and said, we'll give you whatever it was, 300, 400,000 more. Well, I want to buy a house for my family. So it can work in your favour as well. But yeah, take everything with a grain of salt that they say, the football players.
It can. And one quote that has been doing the rounds in social media today was the one where Romy was interviewed last year and he came out and he was talking about the clauses in his contract and he came out last year and said, I'm going to be here forever. I love the club. Yeah. I'm here to turn it around. So anyway.
Everybody's got their price, Nick.
6 months later, he's shown me the money and off he goes on his private jet up to Port Moresby, but we'll
Perhaps
still
he'll
love
be
him.
back in 2031. I mean, he'll still only be 32, 33 for a half. That's still prime time. Come and finish his career here again. So.
Well, the other thing that should be taken into account, and we're not going to talk about politics, but I heard there was bipartisan support for funding the PNG team, which means Labor and the Liberals are on the same page. But you've got another political force that's coming up, and I don't think Pauline's going to be the kind of person that's going to hand over $600 million to PNG for a rugby league team. But anyway, we'll see what happens. It might all be moot in the end.
It might be moot. I'll have a word to Pauline, see what we can do.
Yeah, well, you're on a first name basis, so yeah,
She's a good lady.
we're in the right colour.
Let's just move away from
Move
politics
away.
for a few moments. Yeah, I won't go through the quotes from the presser, but I did pull out a few. One was around the tax-free money, which we've already covered. The other one was around Romy saying, you realise when you're over there the game is bigger than ever, which it is, and I think that is really up Romy's avenue to go and make an impression on Papua New Guinea and Port Moresby and the Chiefs as a whole, and really make it something from the word go. And I know how much media is going to be all over that when even before the ball's kicked off. It's going to be huge, following not just Romy but the entire team. One thing I kind of half laughed at when Romy was talking about another reason why he was going, he said, being Polynesian, there are a lot of similarities to Samoa. And I thought, West Tigers is pretty Polynesian at the moment. I think the majority of our team's Polynesian. But no doubt going over there and living there probably draws similarities to Samoa, which is what Romy was talking about. But yeah, like we were saying, hopefully he doesn't take on any of our boys, especially the Fainu brothers, with him, because that would be devastating. I thought Benji also spoke really well in his replies to Romy's chat at the start. He obviously said that Romy's very important in our direction over the next 18 months, and he's got a huge role to play, which is true. And actually, one comment that Benji did say is what it gives us is a huge cash injection back into the club to help retain some of the players that we don't want to lose.
Yeah.
Which is where I just want to now lead off into, which, as sort of alluded to earlier, is the off-contract players coming up. Now, I've got a list for the end of next season, so I haven't looked at this season, and I know, Josh, you've been doing your own research, so I will throw to you. So I'll just name some names here. So off-contract at the end of next year, we've got Jarome Luai, Latu and Samuela, Patrick Herbert, I think he'll be getting on a little bit too, Royce Hunt, speaking of getting on, but the way he scored that barnstorming try at Leichhardt last Thursday, maybe he can go around for another 5 years or so. Jock Madden, Big Hamasi is also off contract. Talon and Terrell, a couple of big names there that we don't want to lose. Fanua Bole, Ethan Robertson, Sunia Turuva is one that I'm a bit worried about. Josh, off contract. What's your thoughts or concerns there?
Yeah, look, I think obviously Luai's gone. I think you can say Pat Herbert and Royce Hunt in their 30s. Neither of them are probably the elite athletes that are going to play much into their 30s, even though Royce has got a little fitter. I think the number one for me is Sam Fainu. Like, I think we re-signed Sam, and probably Latu comes with him. I think that's kind of the number one priority for me. There's a couple of young guys, Godney, Ethan Roberts, those kind of things, who will probably still be at the club. I don't think that's too much of a worry. The interesting ones come down to, obviously, what do you do in the halves? I mean, maybe with Jarome going, we try to keep Madden, we keep Latu, and we keep Javon Andrews and kind of see what works in 2028. In the forwards, you've got Pole and Terrell May off contract, and then Sam, as I said, but I think Sam's the number one focus with probably Jarome, sorry, not Jerome, with Jarome Buller. In the back line, I think it's interesting. Taylor May, and there's been a lot of talk and excitement about, well, we should re-sign the May brothers ASAP. You've also got Makasini coming through, and to me, it's an interesting question of they're both left centers, like that is their main position. And Terrell also will be 28. The May brothers, you know what? Like, I do want them to re-sign. I hope we re-sign probably everyone on that list, other than Hunt and Herbert at the end of their contracts. But there's a question if I probably had to let a couple go. Probably the May brothers. I think I could probably find I'd probably try and keep the rest, only because Terrell's getting, he'll be 29 by the end of season 2028, and Props kind of hit 30 and it all goes downhill. Like, I don't want to sign him to a long-term extension. And Taylor May, do you keep Macassini or do you keep Taylor May? I don't know. We keep both of them is probably my concern, but I think we should be sprinkling this extra money around probably eight of those guys. An extra 100 grand each, more than I'd go out to market. I think we already have backup in the halves. We have a good rest of the squad. In a perfect world, maybe we keep the whole rest of the squad and let Jarome go and just kind of upgrade a bunch of guys and spread. It's probably one of the reasons we're doing so well this year is we have a bunch of guys who are probably underpaid.
Mm.
Like Samuela's earning more. He came across as a kid. Terrell came across as a bench prop from the Roosters. Taylor came across after 2 years off. These guys come into their next contract. Buller, they come to their next contract, they'll all be wanting more money than they're on today. It helps us now, but it gets hard in 2028. So maybe Jerome's done us a favour.
Makes some very good points there. Azza, if you're in charge of the salary crap, what are you doing with that 1.2?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, I think we've got a lot of guys there that we've got on good deals at the moment. I imagine like even someone like Fanua Pole is not on huge money with us, and I think he does offer quite a lot. Like he is someone that I would like to keep, and I'd probably lean towards keeping him over May as far as props go. I mean, Twiley, and it's been talked about a lot on the podcast over the weeks, is something else this year. I don't know what's happened, but he's from someone else who wasn't. I wouldn't say a massive fan of him in years past. This year, I can't believe how he's bending the line and sticking his head through pretty much every carry. So if you've got someone like him and Pole playing up front as the bookends, I think we're in a reasonable position. So I agree, like Samuela is a must keep. I think KPP is the year after. So I would love to keep those two guys in our back row with someone like Pole and Twiley up front if they're in this kind of form. And I think that still provides us with a pretty good pack.
Spot on. I think there's definitely some upgrades required in there. Like you were saying, Josh, there's a few boys that came over for an opportunity and young boys too in Samuela and Latu. So they're definitely going to, well, Latu's on decent money, but he'll definitely want to be upgraded once Romy goes. And in a couple of years' time, what's Latu going to be in 2028? About 24, I think.
He's only
22.
19. Yeah.
22, is that it?
I think he'll be 22 by 2028. Yeah.
Wow, he's only a
Very
kid.
young.
Very young.
He's got a long way to
Yeah.
go. But yeah, I'd love to see him develop into, that type of half that can really take Romy's spot. I'd love him to put his hand up and say, I can do everything Romy can do and better. And he's a left footer too. So he's got that up his sleeve as well. Joel, I just wanted to talk about our premiership window because I know we're all kind of talking about, the next couple of years we'll build and then maybe 28 we can push. But now with Romy going, I wonder whether there's more of a priority over maybe, I know this year might be a stretch, but the way we're going, I wouldn't write us off to be a decent chance. But do you think there's more pressure on us now to win in the next couple of years with Romy here? Or do you think we're set up for after Romy as well?
Yeah, it's hard to say, isn't it? I mean, I think it's realistic to aim for at least a bottom of the 8 position this year, and that's still a big jump in 2 years from where we were. Like, don't underestimate just how big that is. As I had on my sheet, and I've got my sheet from the other night. There we go. We've still got to win 8 games from 17, and sometimes for the West Tigers, that's impossible. I hope it's not. We'll count it down through the rest of the season, of course. Premiership window, I'm not thinking about premierships. I'm not thinking about I'm still in let's get to consistency and win consistently and try and stick with that 50%. And I've got low expectations. Next year though, a little bit like '04, we fell just short, but '05 we were a better side. '05 2027 is definitely a year I think where they're going to want to make a run. Just a couple of things on what we've been talking about. So I think Latu is probably earmarked more for lock than 5'8". That's the feeling that I've got. And when Benji was asked about depth and replacements for Luai, the first name that came out of his mouth was Javon Andrews, who's a left side player. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's sort of where we end up, and Madden continues to stay in the mix there and stays as that senior fill-in sort of guy. But you give Javon Andrews another 18 months, maybe that's the way that the club is thinking, with a little bit of thought about getting Latu to add more muscle and play more in that lock role. Stability is the word that I want to use. Like when a roster is never done, a roster is continually rotating, and what you want to do is you don't want to have more than 2 or 3 changes to that main sort of 18, 19 guys a year. So let's keep our fingers crossed that pretty much Luai is the only man out, or maybe one more. But we can keep the core and just tweak it from there. If we end up losing 4 or 5 of these guys that you're talking about, I think that's danger. I mean, like the Mays, I understand what you're saying, Josh, but I think we've got to keep the Turuvas, the Mays, the Fainus, the Poles, and just sort of utilize that as the center of the universe, and then build around that in the next couple of years, the next 2 or 3 years at least.
When Romy, sorry, Josh, I was just going to jump in. When Romy came out and did the press conference, and I was thinking, I was thinking about the possible players that may follow him. Turuva was the first one. So because they're so tight, and I think he had a bit of a sway bringing Turuva over from the Panthers. But it was funny in the press conference when I don't know which journo asked Benji a question along the lines of, when Romy came, he brought some players with him, and Benji fired up and he said, "Did he?" And I think I read that as
Mm.
Benji saying, "Well, what about me? Like, I think players are coming to the Tigers to play for me."
Yeah.
And we've been talking all year about how much the players have talked about loving playing for Benji and they're buying into everything he says, and he's more than just a coach. And we all know he's a great people manager, but um, I hope he's right. Like I hope they stick around for Benji Marshall. And I think they will. I am afraid that we're going to lose more. And when there's two more clubs coming in a year and 2 years after, there's going to be a lot of players that need to sort of split from their existing clubs and fill those positions. But yeah, Josh. Hopefully we can maintain our current squad without losing too many.
Yeah, I look, I think, as you said, there is two clubs coming in, and that's 60 NRL contracts out there. So, across 17 clubs, on average, that's 3 or 4 players you're losing from each club. Now, the few guys from overseas, I get that, and the PNG team will probably fill the bottom half of their roster with PNG players. I'd imagine the bottom kind of 10. But there's still a lot of NRL contracts. So you'll see a lot of clubs. I mean, Melbourne have lost 2 or 3 for next year. They lost a few when the Dolphins came in. Panthers are regularly losing players. I think what it is, and kind of Joel touched on this, is you can lose a couple and that kind of, you can keep that rotation kind of going. I think that's reasonable. You don't want to lose too many because it starts to change things. I kind of think actually with Jerome going, us holding on to Dream Buller now, like this year, is probably really important because all of a sudden, if we've lost 2 of our star players within a short period of time, that becomes more problematic than if you've only lost one. So I kind of think even if we have to take up the extension for Dream just to give us some time, then that's what we need to do because one is, unfortunate. Two starts to become a pattern if that happens close after each other. So yeah, I think we'll have to make sure of that one way or the other over the next few months.
They have
I'd,
to
I'd
be,
imagine they're going to
yeah,
let
they
him
have to
take
be
that
tied
up, surely.
together. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I can't imagine they're not going to take up Buller's option for next year, considering we know that we need that consistency there at least for another 12 months. And I think I mean, if you believe what you're hearing out of the club, I mean, they're working on an extension for Dream anyway. So
Mm.
I think there is some positivity about him staying regardless. But I think they're going to take up that 12 months, surely.
Oh, surely, yeah. I was just going to make or suggest that it's not Taruva that I think is most likely to be joining Jerome for a year in 2028. It's somebody else in the West Tigers squad. Does anybody want to have a guess? Nick?
Well, I'm worried about Buller. Appy.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised with Hayward coming through. I wouldn't be surprised if Appy signs a 1 year deal for 2028 with our blessing.
I, I would. I mean, I could easily see Appy going with PNG, sort of. I believe he's got PNG heritage, doesn't he? So, I mean, I think there's definitely a connection there for him to potentially head that way as well. I mean, I think he's off at the end of 2028, so it wouldn't surprise me at all, depending on how he's coming towards the end of his. I mean, he'll be towards the end of the career. It'll be very similar to the Alex Johnson scenario.
Yeah. It's also a long way from Nick, and he stopped getting those phone calls. Hey, Appy, you want to have another round of golf?
I'll just wait for Romy to send the private jet. I'll fly over to Port Moresby and have a game with the Appy. Yeah, it'd be a shame to lose Appy, but I mean, he's not getting any younger, is he?
Yeah.
And we've got Jared Hayward in the works, working on his craft in lower grades. So hopefully in 18 months he's ready to go. I was actually hoping that we may see him on the bench this week, but not to be. But he's got
Maybe
plenty of time, so
maybe next week.
maybe next week we'll wait and see. Now, just moving off the Luai news, as I just wanted to, because I wasn't on the weekend pod, I just wanted to talk very quickly about Leichhardt, because obviously the boys had their chance on the weekend on the Sunday pod. You and I were both at the game. Traditionally, with West Tigers podcast, we do a one word response for our thoughts on the game. Now, I'll go first just to give you a moment just to think of one. Mine's euphoric. So the euphoria leaving the ground, even during the second half, was incredible. I will say most of the first half was just as euphoric. However, that 10-minute period where Uppy was bins did scare me. People around me were telling me to calm down and stop being such a wuss. Even at halftime when we were down 14-10 or whatever it was, I thought we were in trouble.
You weren't on
But
your own.
yeah, and I think that's like Joel always says. I think that's the nervousness of being a West Tigers supporter. It's just that built and ingrained into our blood that we just expect that we're going to lose, and sometimes we expect we're going to lose by a long way. But the resilience that we showed in the second half was incredible. But before I get into the second half, do you have a one word for that Thursday night at Leichhardt?
Yeah, I mean, euphoric does explain the feelings, that's for sure. I mean, I would probably say epic. It was just another epic night at the eighth. So, everything about it. It was busy very early on. I was at the OG beforehand and got there about 6 o'clock. It was busy down there. The walk up to the ground, it was busy. You knew it was going to be a pumping night. So, yeah, I thought it was just an epic occasion, another epic night. Some of the scenes, I was on the grandstand side, so looking across at the hill and seeing the wave, the the hands in the air at the scoreboard every time the score went up, and then the Viking clap to finish things off. It was just an epic night.
Did you join in the Viking clap?
I did on the other side of the ground, but I got involved. By that point, I was pretty pumped up. So, yeah, I mean, look, I was a bit like you. I was getting some messages from friends and mates, and I was pretty negative going into halftime that we were going to be behind as soon as we went down to 12. We were, but I mean, Appy basically ran on the field as we gave the penalty to go 14-10 down, and I mean, if you take that out, we were 33-0, 13-13. So I think the performance on the whole has to be viewed that way.
100%. Josh, did that 10-minute period where we lost Uppy, did that concern you at all when the Raiders put on their points?
It didn't concern me on the night, Nick. I think I even dropped in our group chat that I was very confident we'd still get home. I just felt like we were playing a whole class above. And look, in this day and age, when you lose a player for 10 minutes, the opposition's always going to score some points. Like, it's just the way the game is going. Look, euphoric, epic. Hunt was obviously my one word. Me and my mate stand down that end where Royce was running to. He's running straight at us. I could have jumped over and give him a big hug. That was probably the highlight of the season for me. So watching that live. So look, no, I was not concerned. It's funny this year. I don't like even the games we've lost. I haven't felt concerned about the team because I feel like they're just playing really good quality, dominant football. Like even the games we've lost, we've had kind of 55% of possession. We're playing great footy. Even we're losing, we're actually playing well. And that, previously, generally, even if we won, we were playing badly and the other team was just playing worse. Now we're playing well every week. So no, I wasn't concerned that 10 minutes, but am I concerned about 3 weeks without Appy? Yes, and especially without Appy and Buller. I think Appy's the linchpin of our team, and especially our forwards. I think a lot of that momentum and a lot of that defensive energy, though, on both sides of the ball is from Appy and the captain doing it there. I'm not sure Tristan Hope quite gives me the same hope for the next 3 weeks. So yeah, a bit concerned longer term for that.
Yeah, we've spoken about Tristan Hope before, and look, to be honest, there's only one Appy Coruscant. There's not many hookers that play like him, and we're very lucky to have him. He's such a great leader. He's obviously going to be a massive loss. I think Buller's also going to be a huge loss. 3 to 4 weeks, I think he's out. Maybe a little easier to plug a fullback hole there, but I am worried about moving Turuva. I know Turuva's going to do a great job at fullback, but for me, Turuva's got so much strike in the wing. I really don't like weakening one position to even plug a hole in another one. But We'll get into the team selections in a second, but just as we look quickly at the ladder, we are third. Joel, I still find it's very, very strange to look at the ladder during the week and see us so high up, and it's also very strange to have very low levels of anxiety.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm just as anxious. The anxiety doesn't change for me. But yeah, and don't look too much at the ladder. Like, look at it
No,
at the end of the year, but don't look at it too much. Now, did you see that stat? We've only won 1 from 8 without Appy in the last couple of years. So he's been unavailable 8 times. We've only won one of those games, but that's a different team. I was going to make the point that building on what Josh is saying. The thing is that, and I don't mean to be cocky, but I look at the team that we've seen this year and I still see improvement. I don't think they're
yeah.
firing on all cylinders yet. Like, I think they could be even better. And I know that's possibly, like my countdown, possibly jinxing them, and I know that's going to be hard without Buller and without Appy, but like, that makes me feel a little bit more confident, is knowing that there's another gear there, I reckon.
I said that a couple of weeks ago. I thought there's a lot of room for improvement, and that is the scary thing for me. I know we've got to play a lot of tougher teams, or I know we have played some tough teams, but and no game's easy in the NRL. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of challenges coming up. I can't wait till we play the Panthers. I think that's going to be a huge benchmark game to see where we sit. I think we've got a little while to actually it's not too far away now that matchup, but we'll get a pretty good idea soon. But even thinking about this week's game against the Sharks, they're a team that's always in or around the eight, and they've
Mm.
played a lot of finals football over the last however many years. They're currently ninth, so they're sniffing around without maybe playing the greatest football. So, as are you worried about the Sharks game? Because I'm not too sure.
Look, yeah, look, I am a little. I think the thing with the Sharks that's been a little bit unusual, particularly in the last 2 or 3 weeks, is probably the number of points that they're conceding, which for a Fitzgibbon coach side, you wouldn't really expect. I think that's a positive for us because our defence has been very good. So if they can concede the sort of points that they have been, even though we're missing a couple of absolute strike weapons in attack, I think to me, both Buller and Appy are a big out this week, but to me, KPP is even bigger on that right hand side because
Yeah.
I think he also links up with Buller, and we're going to lose that with a Suka and
Turuva.
Turuva connection, yeah, and I think that will hurt a little bit. And the other thing I've loved from KPP this year is just the effort areas. His first one down on kick chase, he's up, he sets like good line speed in defence. So I just think losing some of that, it might just take a little bit of the ping out of our defence and a little bit of the ping out of our attack, and that's probably where my major concerns are. I think the thing Appy does so well, he takes that one or two little steps out from dummy half as he plays that ball to the lead runner, and it just puts the defence in two minds as to what to do. And we're definitely going to lose that. So it might just change even our shape a little bit, which is a bit of a worry because we've kind of lost that against Souths and maybe against Broncos to an extent when we did struggle to score some points.
Certainly going to be an opportunity to see how much the boys are buying into Benji's system of footy this year. I for one was extremely worried when we lost Romy after the Souths game, I think it was. When Jock came in, I thought, well, there's probably 3 games we're not going to win, and lo and behold, we won all 3. I do wonder. I'm actually looking forward to watching Tony Suka play on the weekend. I was really impressed with him last year. I thought he held his own and looked like an NRL player. Now I know he's been playing, I think, 80 minutes in Cup each week this year, so he could be one of those guys that's gone to another level as well. Maybe we haven't seen that. And I know there was some talk around Patrick Herbert before he debuted in NRL that he wasn't, overly impressive in Cup, but then look what he did when he played his first game of NRL. So I'm hoping we'll see that with Suka. I'm hoping we won't lose too much rhythm and potency, but different player. As I do agree there, KPP, it's hard to replace someone like that, as it is with Appy and as it is with Buller, etc. So good challenge coming up.
Yeah, I've been
Josh.
watching quite a bit of Cup this year, and Tony Suka has looked like he's looked way better than the players he's playing against, and there's been some good players in those cup teams on both our side, but especially in the opposition. But he has looked a class above. He's looked strong. He's looked fit. He's charging through like every run. He's carrying two or three blokes. Like he has looked well and truly a first grader. Which when you watched him last year, even in cup, he looked better and he was okay. Um, but he wasn't great. But he has looked very much ready for first grade, and I think that probably shows why Brenji brought him in over Seafarth onto that edge. So I think he'll do his job. He's not KPP, but I think he'll very much do his job on the weekend. It's probably a little more, as you said. I think Um, Turuva brings a different style and will charge meters, and I think against the Sharks, having Turuva and Skelton coming out. Although I did see Tino Tavana today was training with the top side and Skelton wasn't, so perhaps. But either way, I think with Tino at the back, we'll get plenty of meters, and the Sharks aren't a good team at holding sides back. So hopefully we play all the game down their end.
It's actually really surprised to know, as you touched on how many points the Sharks have been leaking, that they're for and against. Points for, we're not too dissimilar. Sharks are 192, we're 209, but our defense is a huge difference this year. 127 against for us, 198 for the Sharks. So they're tipping into the negatives in terms of differential there. So it speaks volumes for where we are. I guess Sharks are a little bit of an unknown. I think you can see that in their form guide as well. They're sort of a bit up and down, and obviously coming off a high point scoring, albeit fairly close loss on the weekend. I'm not too sure what to expect. Even when you look at their team, now I don't watch a lot of games of opposition teams, but there's still some decent names. And Nicholas Hines, number 7, he's not the premier 7 in the competition, but he can still cause some teams some concern. What do you reckon, Az? Do you reckon Hines? Who else is the people that we're going to look out for in Cronulla?
Yeah, I mean, I actually think Trindle's probably been a better player for them so far this year in terms of attack and creation. So there's some concern probably there. Look, their centres, Talakai and I think Iro's been named at the other side this week because Jesse Raymond's still out. Look, Toa, my major worry with Stafford Toa is just defence. And last week I did think he looked a little underdone. In the first half on a couple of kick chases, he was right in front of us and he was blowing hard. So hopefully that week of having the run will make a big difference this week. But maybe on the edges with changes to our edges, just making sure that we sort of handle those guys, because Trindle has sort of worried sides with some of those short balls, and some of his attacking play can be a little bit hard to stop. I think their forward pack is pretty reasonable across the group there, and they've got a couple of keys back in. I mean, McInnes is starting this week, and I think they've also got Nakora back in as well. So they're both guys that haven't. I mean, McInnes came off the bench last week, but they're both guys that haven't been playing. So I think that strengthens them up as well.
Very true. Joel, Jock's still at 14. How are we going to use Jock?
Probably like we've seen, in recent weeks, where he will be there as if needed, if there is an injury to a half or hooker. Obviously, we didn't see him last week against the Raiders, which I think is unfortunate for Jock, a good thing. Like, we had control of the game. We didn't need to go to any changes or any differences. But I wouldn't be surprised with Hope. I don't think Hope will play 80 minutes. I think there'll be some shuffling around, and I think we'll see more of Latu and more of Madden on the field and playing at 9 at different times. And it's hard to, as we've sort of said with the Sharks, it's hard to know what you're going to get, because on one side they are that semi-final hardened, consistently hard to beat, consistent football team. But the other side of the coin is they also look like a team that's tired, and a team that's sort of run out of puff a bit, needs a bit of a rebuild. But I don't know what team we're going to get on the day out at Shark Park, and they're always a little bit harder to beat out there. And it's traditionally we've had trouble with their wingers, and Tavana and Lee Lilly need to be on their game. But look, if we're a genuine football team, these are the kind of games that we've kind of got to win. Now that we're up higher on the ladder, we've got to win these games. This is what playing semi-finals is all about. It's going to Shark Park on a Sunday and coming away with the 2 points, finding a way. Bit of a leadership gulf without Appy, but the $2 million man's going to have to step up there.
Isn't it funny, Josh? Every week we keep saying it's a game we've got to win this game. We're sitting third. We don't really have to win it, but I'm kind of thinking the more we bank earlier, the safer I'm going to feel towards the back end of the season.
Yeah, it's funny actually. I was kind of looking at the next few weeks, and I actually think, coming off the injuries, coming off all the noise this week. Look, obviously, I'd love us to win. If we lose this, it's a Sunday at Shark Park. They're a really hard team to beat at home, especially in the daytime down there. I kind of expect, and we'll get to the predictions, but I don't necessarily expect us to win this week. But I am feeling weirdly confident that we will win next week against the Storm, and then Magic round. Let's see what happens. But yeah, I'm feeling reasonably confident we'll win next week. But I'm not so confident about this game. And I think after all the things that have happened this week, more the injuries than the Jerome stuff.
Mm.
Sometimes it takes a little while to adjust to all those changes to a team when you're missing your fullback and you're missing your second rower and and then other guys are moving around. It takes a little bit of time to adjust, and obviously without Appy. So maybe it takes us a game to adjust. Hopefully our defense stays solid. That's probably the thing I'm looking for. Like if we don't win, but our defense holds and our structure holds together without Appy, then I can kind of live with the fact that it's a bit clunky coming out of hooker because that's where it's all played off. So, I don't feel like it's a must win. I think that's one, we're used to being the fact we have only won 2 games at this time of year. So when you've won more, there are weeks where you can accept that, your team's short on troops and you're going to get a lot lost against a good team. And I kind of feel like that's probably one of those. But as long as we keep our defense and set ourselves up for the next few games, I'd probably be happy enough with that. Probably not on Sunday, but I'll be happy enough a couple of days later. Yeah. I mean, if you by midweek, I'll be feeling better about it.
Yeah, what worries me is the more the weeks go on and the more games we keep winning, the more confident I'm getting. So I'm kind of expecting us to win, but that's also a worrying thing too.
The pride comes before the fall.
Yeah, something like that. But it's interesting when you look at the head-to-head. So since 1998, well, this goes back a little bit before the merger, but 39 matchups. This is one Tigers are slightly on top of, and we're not on top of too many teams. So 20 to us and 18 to them.
I think we
With
won
one
like
draw.
12 in a row or something against them back in the 2000s.
The good old days, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And who can ever forget that game at Shark Park when Benji stepped a million players and
Benji.
threw it out wide and we scored that miracle try. Is anyone going out to Ocean Gate Stadium or Ocean Protect or whatever you want to call it?
No,
No?
I won't be going
No.
down there. No.
It's a bit like Ocean Gate.
I mean,
It's a bit like an implosion when you get down there, but
I think it holds about 10,000 people at the moment, doesn't it? Is it still sort of a bit of a basket case in terms of the number of people that can get in there with all the work they've been doing and those units around it? I mean, the one thing down there the only thing as well that probably concerns me a little bit is just the wind can get up and it can play tricks and again, talking about our outside backs and even Turuva at the back, just how they handle the kicking game of those guys that are going to be a lot more used to it. I just had a very quick look, 30 odd Ks an hour, east-northeasterly, so probably coming off the Bay Area there. So it'd be interesting to see whether the wind is up and if we can handle that, because that could play a part. Maybe a couple of Dewey torpedoes or something like that could put a bit of pressure on their back group as well.
Exactly.
now I'm not a betting man, as I know you are. Just having a quick look at the odds, it looks like PointsBet have, is that right? The Sharks are $1.44 favourite.
Yeah, they're red hot favourites after our team was named. Yeah.
I'm going to load up on Port Moresby money and put it all on the West Tigers for a 18 plus or 13 plus victory. I don't know what it is, but I like those odds. You having a bet?
Yeah, look, I definitely am. I think we're going to get home, but I think it'll be a little bit closer. I'm backing us in on our defence, so I'm hoping our defence holds and that the Sharks do concede like they have in the weeks past, and we can rack up another nice victory.
What's your score prediction?
I'm going to go 24-16.
24-16, not too bad. Josh, score prediction?
Yeah, as I said, I'm not feeling overly confident, but I think our defense will hold all right. And so I think it's going to be a tight one. And I think we lose 14-12.
Wow.
And it's my first loss prediction of the year. But if our defense holds, I'll still be happy. So 14-12 to the Sharks. Yeah.
I haven't been keeping track of your predictions. So how are you sitting in terms of correct and incorrect?
Well, I've picked the
With a good
Tigers
record?
every week before now, so
That's not too
I'm
bad.
doing okay. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, I hope you're wrong this week. Joel, what's your thoughts, mate? How are we going to win? What's the score going to be?
I think that we're going to have too much energy, and I think that to Benji's credit, we've named a team with the least amount of disruption, given the factors that we've had to deal with, which is what I like. Where once upon a time we would have moved this guy here and that guy there and made 100 different changes. It's a pretty stable team, so I've got to maintain that confidence. Canberra, Cronulla, two teams are pretty much on par with each other. We scored 33 points. They scored 14. I can't. Well, if you were in neutral, you'd go, well, why would you go against that? So I'm going to be confident. It might come back and shoot me like so many other things. 32-10 to the Tigers. I think we've got their number.
Okay, I'm going to stick along the lines. I'm going to go for a Tigers victory. I think we're going to keep a good defensive record. I believe in Benji's systems, and I think the boys will buy into that again, even with a few players out. I'm going to say that I don't think Cronulla will score more than 14 points. So let's say Tigers 30-14. So hopefully I'm correct and Josh is wrong, but we'll see.
Me too. I hope you are too, Nick. That sounds much better.
Any last thoughts, boys?
I will
And there's
say,
been plenty of points in the Sunday afternoon game, so I'm hoping to see a similar sort of effort with but with the black and gold and the white, doing the job.
Very true.
I think, like as I said, I'm not overly confident about this week, but if the Tigers can come out with all these injuries and with all the Jarome stuff this week, and they do go out and put the 30 points to 14, say, on the Sharks, then I would lock us in for a top four spot. I think if we can overcome this, this is a whole different Tigers world, and we should be locked in on the top four.
You know what? I might be going off a bit early. I'm going to call us top four anyway.
Oh, no. I've got one last point. If you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe for us. That would be very much appreciated. And tell your friends, and I don't know, join us on the West Tigers podcast forum for plenty of debate about the West Tigers. And leave your one-word submissions, good, bad, or ugly, after the Sharks game, please.
Don't just tell your friends, tell your grandparents who might not know how to use YouTube. Just when you're over there next time having a cup of tea or a biscuit or something, show them how to use that smart TV that you may have bought them for Christmas last year. Because like my mother, she wouldn't have a clue how to use a smart TV. I set her up with a YouTube account. She doesn't know how to use it, but next time I go over there, I'll be subscribing to West Tigers podcast. So follow
just on loop, Nick. That's,
it's just a loop.
Over and over.
Yeah. I thought you were doing a Molly Meldrum impersonation to say, do yourself a favour.
Do yourself a favour and hit like, subscribe, and give us a follow, and all social medias, everything. Exactly. Just give us a follow.
It'll only encourage us.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're here for.
That's it.
Thank you, boys. It's been good fun. Aaron, great to have you on, mate.
Really Thanks for having us. Enjoyed it.
Thanks, Aaron.
Go to Tigers.
Thanks, good job.
See you, boys.
Go the Tigers.